this Trump Epstein thing has just gotten out of control. And I don't know how we got here. To start off, I want to show you how even the Democrats have changed on this. Originally, Democrats like Sunny Hostin, who's on The View, she's Miss Democrat up there. She was saying, hey, it was only Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. No one else was involved. And the reason why she was saying that was because we have pictures of Bill Clinton getting massages from the Epstein girls with Epstein in the room, right? Now, the person he's getting a massage from wasn't underage, but you had that, right? So we know Bill Clinton was close associates with Epstein. We know about Prince Andrew. And these are a lot of left-leaning people who are, exposed in this Epstein thing. But not fully exposed, but it's like, it's kind of wild. So Sunny defended them and was saying it's only Epstein. But now, all of a sudden, when Trump is under the gun, she's totally flipped. Now she's believes in a conspiracy theory. Where is the list? Here is her change from when she thought there were more Democrats on the list, how she felt about it, and then when she feels that it's Republicans on the list, how she feels about it.
People were dying for this information. There was some sort of list that everybody thought was going to come out, and who's on the list. What's important for us to note is we shouldn't be repeating names that are on the list, because just because your name has not on the list, but in the documents, just because your name is on the documents doesn't mean that you have done anything criminally irresponsible or illegal or civilly irresponsible.
Or that you were a client.
Or that you were a client. These documents, as I read them, only reflect Epstein's sexual assaults of women and his sexual behavior. So I think that...
And Ghislaine also?
And Ghislaine. And so being named in this suit does not equate to being accused of wrongdoing. And I think that is extremely important because conspiracy theorists seem to not understand or enjoy facts.
Yes.
These are the facts.
There is a list. Trump's name is on the logs, the passenger logs of Epstein's aircraft at least 7 times. That's already been made public. I mean, of course, Trump is denying any and all allegations, but all of that information is out there. Why not just put it to rest and say, release the list?
All right, so as you see, Sunny's flipped on the issue, right? It was really just Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now she's saying there's a whole bunch of other people involved. But with that, it's hard, I think, for the Democrats to be grounded in this Epstein thing because no one actually even trusted them on the Epstein issue anyway. But also, secondly, Epstein was arrested under Trump's first administration. He was prosecuted under Trump's first administration. And he died in prison under Trump's first administration. So Trump and his team have been intimately involved with the Jeffrey Epstein saga from the beginning. Before that, it was another Republican administration who arrested, convicted, and sent Jeffrey Epstein to jail. That was the Bush administration back in 2008. So 2008 Republicans, they arrest, jail Epstein, right? To his weekend jail, the sweetheart deal. Obama takes over 16 years. We hear nothing about Epstein. Trump gets in office, Epstein's arrested, and dies in jail. So now Trump loses that election to Biden. 4 years later, he's back in action. He hires all these people saying, we're going to get transparency on the Epstein thing. They then start releasing documents. Remember, they started releasing phase 1, Epstein phase 1.
The first phase of the Jeffrey Epstein files were going to be put out there. Once they opened the binder, it turns out that all we actually had were a few more of the flight logs. There were some more blacked out bars.
I hope you're hungry. For nothing.
What the heck is going on?
I don't think the files still exist. If they do exist, I think there are efforts within the government to suppress that information, and they will go to lengths to do it. People believe that our government exists to protect the powerful. You have to help people believe that in America, accountability is for everyone.
All right, so now that you know all that, I've taken a whole bunch of reactions to Trump's recent statement that everyone who supports him and is interested in his Jeffrey Epstein thing is essentially dumb. Matter of fact, here is the full statement read out by Officer Tatum. So he's going to read out the full and complete statement so we all understand What is making everyone so upset? So here's the full statement.
It says the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt. They say pay dirt. Again, just like with the fake and full discredited Steele dossier, the live 51 intelligence agencies or intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bedroom, and even the Russia scam itself, a total fake and made up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary's Clinton's big lie or big loss in 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick, and then we gotta put some more in there. They stick together like glue. There's new scams and what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters, this is where I'm just gonna be frank. This is where he peed people off. My past supporters have bought into the bull, you know what, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 years. I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in the country's history. And all these people can talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Democrats is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings, he used the word weaklings, continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again.
In your truth section this morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now calling?
I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country.
So you heard it for yourself. There's a lot of things wrong in that statement. But what I'm going to do is now play the list of people's reactions. It's not going to be their full reactions because I don't want any copyright issues, but snippets from their reactions to this particular statement and how they feel about it. Now we're going to go the full spectrum. So we're going to alt-right, racist, all the way to moderate. So you're going to get a view of how the right as a whole, I think, is thinking of this Jeffrey Epstein thing and the president's response to them. So let's start with the alt-right champion and confirmed racist and anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes.
I don't want their support anymore. Well, fine. You don't get it anymore. Nobody should vote for Trump. Nobody should vote for Republicans. And what needs to happen next, by the way, the Republicans must be hanged in the midterms. That's what must come of this. Trump must fucking pay for this statement to say, I don't want your support anymore. Every single Trump supporter, every single Republican needs to say, okay, bet. You don't want our support? Forget about the midterms. Forget it. The 2026 midterms, it just needs to be a Democrat avalanche at this point. And that's not because I'm a Democrat. I'm not. I don't like the Democrats. I hate the Republicans more because the Republicans are traitors. Because I have voted for Republicans. I have supported Republicans, and they on our face.
Next up is Alex Jones. If you don't know who Alex Jones is, you just got to put him in a Google because there's a whole bunch of stuff comes up. Now, he's not as extreme as Fuentes, but he's pretty extreme.
You talk about this, I'm going to excommunicate you. Well, you're not the Pope, bro. I mean, you're not speaking from the throne ex cathedra. And plus, I'm not Catholic. So, I think of Catholics, it's just, give me a break. Anyone who disagrees with anything I say is banished. And I'm not saying Trump land is a cult. The Democrats are the cult of hating reason and logic and common sense. But when Trump starts behaving like that, it starts getting into cult territory. And I bet, since I talked in the first hour and said I'm not in this cult, if that's what it's turning into, I bet there's already news articles about it. But I went on to say Trump is not a cult yet, but behavior like this starts going down that road. But I guarantee you, if it's not out now, it'll be out in the next hour. And it'll be, Jones says he's left the Trump cult. Nope, never was in the cult. Not saying it's a cult, but this is starting to become cult-like language.
So now let's move from the fringe of the right to the more traditional conservative Republicans. These aren't people who are alt-right by any means. These are people who just believe in traditional Republican values. This is Matt Walsh. He has millions of subscribers on YouTube. This is his take.
Many of us were not saying anything different from what we've been saying for years about Epstein. Okay. And also what Trump has been saying for years about it. Now Trump has decided all of a sudden that the issue doesn't matter. It's boring. And anyone who talks about it is a weakling and not one of his supporters. He decided that in the last 2 weeks. He never said that before. So the idea that we as conservatives are obligated to just adopt that perspective out of the blue is madness. It's also not possible, by the way. Even if I wanted to just decide that I don't care about this anymore, it doesn't work that way. I can't just, you can't say to me, well, you shouldn't care about this. Okay, well, then I don't. Well, never mind. Even if I wanted to obey that directive, I just can't. I care about the issue. I've cared about it for the last 5-6 years. I've cared about it the whole time. I still do. But I'm not interested in obeying that directive because I'm an American. Like, I'm an American. I can think for myself. And if you're a person in position of power, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to criticize you if you do something I don't like. I don't care what party you're in. But the other thing too is that the Epstein scandal, and this is what has to be, you have to understand, is that the Epstein scandal is not happening in a vacuum. Okay. We have not seen any high profile or powerful people held accountable for their crimes. No one's even been fired, let alone arrested, for allowing an assassin to almost kill Trump last year. Trump was elected in 2016 partly on a promise to lock her up. You know, we all recall that. So when do we start locking people up? Trump himself has spent 10 years calling out many different crimes and scandals, rightly so. Just this past weekend, he was talking again about the rigged election in 2020. Why hasn't anyone been arrested or charged for any of this? What about the people who lied about the COVID shot? What about the people who funded the BLM riots in 2020? What about the cabal of unelected bureaucrats who were using Joe Biden's auto pen to sign pardons and executive orders, effectively seizing control of the federal government? Now, back to the point, Republicans are saying that this is a major scandal. I agree. It is. So then who will be held responsible? Who will be punished? What actual person with a face and a name are you going to arrest and put in prison for this scandal? Well, Republicans are investigating it. Great. I mean, they're constantly investigating things. The problem is that nobody is ever punished at the end of it. And I don't even think that's hyperbole. Like, nobody is ever punished at the end of any of these investigations. That's not how the Democrats operate. Democrats spent the last 4 years prosecuting Trump and throwing conservative activists and political advisors in prison. And now, even after the majority of Americans have voted for transparency and justice, we're not getting it. And that's just not going to work. It's not what any Republican voted for in the last election. Okay, we want to see accountability. We want to know that even the rich and powerful will pay for their crimes.
Here's conservative Judge Andrew Napolitano. He was on Fox News for a couple of years. Now he's doing his own thing in the podcasting world. But here is his take.
I think Trump's name is on the list. I think Mossad knows it. I think Mossad told their American stenographer, who happens to be the director of the CIA, who takes down and regurgitates everything Mossad told him. And I think that stenographer whispered it into the president's ear. And he's terrified that this will come out because he knows it will be the beginning of the end, whether there's a Republican Congress or a Democrat Congress. That's what I honestly believe has happened. Now, obviously, I haven't seen the files.
Okay, so here is Tim Pool and my brother Viva. They're going to tell you what they think about this.
So right now, we're dealing with Donald Trump saying he doesn't want our support anymore. But I wanted to highlight for the beginning of this interview and segment, conversation, the Democrats are still crazy. Strategists calling for a depression. This crazy guy who claimed Tim Walz was telling him to shoot people up. These several past mass shooters being of left persuasion. Democrats being right on the Epstein issue, I don't think should put us in a position where we're going to sacrifice the victories of the Trump administration and start supporting the psychotic behaviors of the left. But there is still a conundrum in Trump telling this morning all his past supporters, we don't want to support you anymore. You had a really great post on this that I'd highlighted where you'd mentioned, why are we going to trust the Democrats' previous administration on this? But I'm curious your thoughts on why Trump is doing this, what's going on, and what we should be doing.
Well, back it up to the beginning where it's not a false dichotomy of if you're criticizing Trump, it means you're going to vote for the Democrats. But what it does mean, and I had on the pollster, as far as I'm concerned, one of the only reliable pollsters out there, Richard Barris, Big Data Polling, talking about the fact that, like, okay, you're just going to make them become inactive voters and they're not going to turn out at the midterms, and low turnout doesn't favor Republicans. So on the one hand, shaming your most ardent supporters for following a theory that you yourself proposed, it might not get them to vote Democrat because you'd have to have a hole in your head to vote for the Democrats, but you'll just stay home.
Now, not everyone is on the same page on the right. Here's Ben Shapiro, for instance, and he is going to try to convince you that Epstein worked alone. There's nothing to see here. And specifically, he's going to try to address some of the questionable statements made by Pam Bondi. So, for instance, one of the things that people are saying is that, well, Attorney General Bondi, you said there were thousands of hours of video of children being exploited. Well, on those videos, if that's true, because we all know Epstein had his house wired front to back, then you may have caught some other people having relations with underage people. And if that's the case, that's a crime, and we can use that as evidence. We also have the people who are alive who can say, yeah, they forced me to do this with this person, right? So there's a lot of evidence. If you were going to bring charges against someone now, you got it, right? You got video, you got witnesses, you can make a case out of a lot less. So Ben Shapiro is going to explain why all of that evidence doesn't mean anything, what the government is telling him to tell us, and why he believes it, and all that type of stuff. So here is the other side, and I'm going to play it. It's like 2 minutes long. I have to beep out some of the words because it's YouTube, but here it is. I just want you to listen to what he has to say.
The reason the FBI is not releasing them is because those tapes do not include underage people with third parties on Epstein Island. That is not what the tapes are. Okay, I also have sources in the federal government who are covering this stuff and have seen the documents. Okay, those tapes are just child porn. That's all. That's what they are. That's why the FBI is not releasing them. Okay, as far as the Epstein list, what I have been told by my sources is that there is no Epstein list, that basically there's a black book of Jeffrey Epstein contacts. And the vast majority of those contacts are already out there publicly. That's why you know names like Prince Andrew or Alan Dershowitz or some of the names that have been mentioned here. Those contacts, there is no evidence, according to the DOJ and the FBI, and again, that's public, there's no evidence that any of those third parties were having girls trafficked to them. Here is Tucker then asserting that it was actually Mossad. Again, without evidence, not a shock. Of course, this is where Tucker was going. This has become the hot speculation on the internet, is without evidence. You say that Mossad was running Jeffrey Epstein. When I say without evidence, I mean without evidence. Naftali Bennett, the former Israeli prime minister, said, quote, "As a former Israeli prime minister, with the Mossad having reported directly to me, I say to you with 100% certainty, the accusation that Jeffrey Epstein somehow worked for Israel or the Mossad running a blackmail ring is categorically and totally false. This accusation is a lie being peddled by prominent online personalities such as Tucker Carlson, pretending they know things they don't." And in fact, I followed up with the former prime minister, Naftali Bennett, and what he told me is the Mossad has not been active in the United States against the United States since the Jonathan Pollard scandal of 1987, when a U.S. Army contractor who's actually working for the Navy revealed classified information to the Israeli government. He was prosecuted by the United States government and ended up in prison for almost 30 years. And so Israel since then has not spied on the United States with Mossad.
So are you like Ben? Do you believe everything the government's saying about the Epstein files? There's nothing to see here. It's perfect. Perfect. And his sources are telling you.
Like Trump thinks his base is stupid.
Why'd they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit? Why'd they say that?
Right.
Didn't Pam Bondi say that?
We are going to try to get to the bottom of what's knowable now that they're telling us there's no there. I mean, for me, that's just a red cape in front of a bull.
Okay, so here's my take. You had phase one. Phase one of the Epstein was nothing. And a lot of that stuff was redacted anyway. So, number two, you can unredact a lot of that stuff, except for like victims' names. I don't want to see those. But you can unredact a lot of that stuff, and you could have moved this ball forward. But now, absolutely now, to say that the Epstein thing is a hoax, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? If this whole thing is a hoax created by the Democrats, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail? Why did his Justice Department arrest Epstein on trafficking? Right? Why? Why are all these things redacted? If it's a hoax, why are all those names? Why'd you put out phase one with all the redactions then? It's a hoax. Yes. This is all fake stuff. Here it is. The man who never dies. When Trump says hoax, I don't know what he's talking about. Is he talking about the fact that Epstein was charged with these crimes? Is that the hoax? Is the whole Epstein saga the hoax? Or is the hoax that there's information about co-conspirators? Is that the hoax? Now, I've come on camera because I usually do these things when I'm not on camera, but I'm going to ask you guys, what does he mean by hoax? Do you think there were other people involved in the Epstein stuff, people going to that island? Or do you think it was just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? I'm asking because it seems so obvious that that is wrong, that there were more people involved. And when someone asks, well, we want to know who those other people are, who you're saying are abusing children on a massive scale here, it kind of makes me think the deep state has something on these people. And the one person who we know, obviously, who has whatever authority to release this is Trump. There's no doubt about it. It's his information to release. And he's not. He said they're going to release all the credible information. Well, who determines what's credible or not? I do want to see the non-credible stuff. I want to see it all, right? The stuff that's not credible. And tell me why it's not credible. You don't just say it's not credible, I'm not going to show it because it's not credible. No, you say, here's the evidence and this is why it's not credible. That's not an excuse. It's just not. So, at the end of the day, whatever the reasons why Trump and his administration aren't releasing these files, the ones that they've been given right now, that's some Democrat hoax and that it needs to die, is not the right excuse. They need to do better. And I think they're going to get slaughtered if this thing just continues to go this way. And good thing is Trump has only been in for a couple of months, 6-7 months. So there's another year and a half to the midterms. So I don't think nobody's even, campaigning for the midterms as of right now. So I think they can course correct before the midterms and be okay. But as of right now, in this moment, I just don't think things are going great. Now, I don't care what poll numbers you saw, because right now, I think if you poll people and they say, hey, do you still support President Trump? They're probably going to say yes, right? I don't think this issue is making them not support. But I think going forward, though, those people will probably not come out to vote. Those people are probably going to stay home because they're just not happy. And it's hard. It's hard to reconcile. Your people are the ones who told us there were more information. Your people are the ones that said we're going to be transparent. Your people said this is phase one. Obviously, that means there's going to be more phases to this. And now they're saying there's nothing else. There's no more of the phases. There was nothing all along. And we've known it. And then a couple of days later, there's more stuff, but it's not credible. There's more stuff, but it's created by the Democrats. It's more stuff, but I don't want to show you. Make it make sense, people. I read the comments. I'm going to read the comments because I don't think a lot of people are going to watch this video. But I'm going to read every comment on this video because it's just it has to be something more out there. Unless Trump is on the list that doesn't exist. That could be a reason. Or someone close to Trump is on the list. That could be a reason. And if you think about it, those two things would make sense. Oh, now we understand, right? Or it could be something more. Something more could be involved in this. But you can't just dismiss it now. Not with these type of responses from Trump. You can't just dismiss the fact that somebody says, well, he may be doing it because he or someone close to him was on the list. That tracks that travels. Now, you don't have to believe he's on the list, but you can't dismiss it. And he's put us in a position where we can't dismiss it now. Another conspiracy. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all the great YouTube stuff. My name is Nick Fuentes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.